Hello everybody and welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. So today we have a wonderful guest from California that I think you're going to be completely excited about. Once again, we've been taking on some guests lately. A lot of you have been asking for that. And obviously I've been very cautious about picking people that I know the wines are great. I've only had one of the three wines today, but it was outstanding. This is a winery that has a very, very interesting piece of our heart here at Wine Library, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But with us today is Joey Tensley of Tensley Wines, and Joey, say hello to all the Vaynerchuks.
Nice to meet you, Vaynerchuks. My first time.
So, let me tell you a quick little story about Tensley Wine. Brought into our state by a great distributor, Tom Burns from T. Edwards Wines. He emails me one day and says, these wines are great. We tasted through. We loved them. We supported them very heavily. They're from an area in California that we were doing very well with. And we sold the wines great. We did great. And it was a wonderful experience. The next year, the wines were going to be released. And all of a sudden, our good friend from Maryland, Robert Parker, Mr. Bob, gave them outlandish scores. Really throwing the Tensley name to a whole new audience and made it a very hot ticket. Unlike 99% of the wineries that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, let's be fair, 98, Tensley did right by us, didn't forget that we were supporters pre-press, and I really want to thank you for that. I never have, and I appreciate that. That was a very stand-up thing to do.
Well, that's the kind of winery we are. We have to support the followers.
We appreciate that. Give us, and this is probably the most interesting aspect for the viewers today, just tell me, out of curiosity, obviously, how long, what's the first vintage of the Tensley wines?
Well, I started the brand in 98, but in 98 I only made 100 cases, approximately 4 barrels. And of the 2005s we're tasting now, we made about 2,400 cases. But we've never taken any kind of investments. It's just been myself and my wife slowly building the brand every year.
Very nice. Sounds like a Wine Library kind of story. Now, here's what I'm really curious about. So you're building the brand, you've got supporters around the country. Tell me what happens that day when the press, Robert Parker, the guy, gives this kind of scores that he did to your wines. I have to know about the phone calls, the emails, and the faxes. I think that's a value to the viewers. They'd probably be interested in that. I'm interested.
Well, it's
in
funny because you can see how the calls come in. It's obviously shipped from the East Coast because the East Coast starts calling first, and then like the second day you start getting Kansas, and the third day you start getting California. So yeah, you get a fair amount of calls, and a lot of people, they're obviously just chasing the numbers and never heard of you or never even spent the time to go out and find a small winery like myself. And that's why I appreciate distributors like Tom and T. Edward, because they spent the time back in the mid-90s, late 90s when Santa Barbara wasn't as fashionable as it is now, and they were wanted to be cutting edge.
Santa Barbara's fashionable now?
Well, we had this really interesting movie come out called Sideways. It was just a wonderful thing.
I'm sure you loved it. It really hasn't changed your day-to-day lifestyle.
It hasn't, no. Just the hotels are more expensive in the area now. That's about it.
So it was a big storm?
It was, yeah. But it happens for about 10 days or so, and then it's gone again. Yeah, but you get a lot of people that. The interesting thing about those buyers are they're case buyers. You don't get people wanting to buy a bottle. They want to buy 2 or 3 cases. If it scores 95 points, I had one guy want to buy 10 cases. It's like, wow, you must really respect the man's palate.
Yeah, well, let's move on. Let's go to the first wine. And what we've got is the Three Creek 2005 Syrah. And this is a monster. I noticed it's like 15.2?
Yeah.
Is that what we got?
And this is a new vineyard for us. As we were saying, we're growing the brand. So to grow the brand, we have established a couple new vineyards. And this is a new vineyard out in the eastern part of San Ynez, what is basically called the Happy Canyon area, which I believe is going to have its own AVA within the next year or so, hopefully. This is an all-organic farm, first crop off of it. It's a blend of 2 clones from a very, very steep hillside. I mean, it's really, really rocky. It's actually so rocky that the owner's wife was riding her bike recently and had a wreck up there and punctured her spleen on one of the rocks. I mean, it's that kind of rock.
Do you think that added to the terroir?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you get a punctured spleen, obviously it's going to bring something to the wine.
Well, it looks like this was a punctured spleen because this color is completely pitch black. Obviously, we all know we love that. We like good color on the show, so let's give this a little bit of a whirl. Joey, explain to me something that, I think a lot of people like. A lot of these wines, these really big, monstrous wines, I tend to a lot of times get an orange peel on the nose. Do you know what I mean? It becomes a little bit of a citrus. It's so extracted. Is that a common thing that do you pick up on that? I get that a lot with these huge Syrahs.
I think that could be Santa Barbara County really does well with retaining acidity. So I think the acidity is actually coming out. But I'm no professional. You are, So all I do is make the stuff.
I think there's 20,000 people that would disagree with you on that. I'd like to be a professional owner of a sports team in New York. Or New Jersey, I should say, actually.
What I like about this wine is we're going to taste two Syrahs right now, basically made in the same fashion. And they're both fairly warm climate vineyards. But this one's more tannic. If you're looking for a wine that's going to age really well, this is much more tighter. Whereas we're going to taste the next wine, it's much more fruit driven. And you'll definitely see the difference in the terroir.
I'm a little bit surprised. Again, I have had the Coulson Canyon. I haven't had the three vineyards or Three Creek? It's not as over the top fruit bomb as I thought. It's actually, it even reminds me a little bit more of Northern Rhone aspects to it, with all the great things that Northern Rhone brings, but still lively enough and fresh enough and fruity enough and vibrant enough to know it's a little bit more New World in its own right. But there's a lot more structure in this wine I expected, and a lot more tannin in the back end. I mean, are you looking at 10, 15 easy years on this, right?
I would say, yeah. Again, it's our first vintage, so I can't truthfully say I know from experience, but...
A truthful winemaker.
But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's going to have a problem 10 years minimum.
I mean, this is a wine that I think is going to really hit a lot of people the right way because, again, it's got that great balance of New World, Old World that we talk about a lot in the show. Lots of structure, real pitch black. And I would tell you this wine, again, $31 US, or bones, as we like to say. I would tell you this wine's an easy 93, 94 point type wine. It's massive, structured. I'm not giving Joey a couple extra points because he's here, because let's be honest, he's not as big as the guy from South Africa. And I'm pretty pumped up about the Jets, so I think I could take him right now. Maybe not, but at least it'd be a good fight. So I'm telling you right now, I'm definitely not overscoring this. Let's stick with the 93 plus point score, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is a wine you want to take 6 bottles, put it in your cellar, because 5, 7, 8, 10 years from now, with a great rib or steak, this is just like a perfect complement. And kudos to an area where a lot of the Syrahs have now started hitting that $50 to $70 price range. This one's coming in at a nice fair price. I do appreciate that, and more importantly, consumers appreciate that. I mean, as a lot of people know, I'm a big fan of keeping the prices in line for customers, and so I've been really impressed. That was probably the biggest shocking factor for me when I realized you were probably a good guy, because after 95-point Parker scores and things like that, the price increase was in line to the way a normal move should be done, not, hey, look who we are now. And tell me about that. Tell me about using your word over going for the financial
I'm trying to
fun.
I think a lot of people get short-sighted when it comes to that. They get big scores and they think, oh man, I'm going to cash in. But I'm looking to build a structured fan base. Something that people can put this wine against anything in the world for $31 or $32, and it may not be their cup of tea, but it's going to be quality at least for something in that price category.
Sure. Little rinse.
I could have easily bumped my price and sold it, no problem. But I think, to me, that's just gouging your customer, and that's just going to make your customer go elsewhere whenever the next fashionable thing comes. They're going to say, okay, to heck with Tensley. I don't know if we can even say the other word in this show, but I'm sure we can, since Gary's that kind of guy.
Yeah, you probably can.
So what I'm trying to do is build a customer base that can say every year, I know it's going to be a good value at $32 or $33, whatever it is.
Are you guys now confused why he's on the show? That's what we're all about. All right, so now we're going to do the 2005 Coulson Canyon, which we've been selling out basically the day we've been getting it in. And we've been strong-arming for a couple more cases, so I think we might be able to get that. But it's been flying for us. Obviously, this has a great pedigree in our shop. It's one that we've been carrying right from the get-go. This has normally been the big fruit bomb that a lot of people love. 15.6. No shortage of alcohol.
No, this vineyard actually really dehydrates quite a bit. We still pick it at about potential of 14.7, 14.8, right around there. But this vineyard's very, very warm, so it gets a whole lot of dehydration. So overnight it soaks up 1.5 bricks to 2 bricks, which equals that next amount of that next percentage of alcohol. This is the only wine that I put new oak on also. All the other wines that I produce are all in neutral barrel. This does get 20% new oak. And I think just kind of gives the wine just a bit of a lift.
Rounds it out.
Exactly. I'm not trying to mask flavors. I think a lot of wineries are really getting into a lot of new oak. I think we bottle everything separately. They're all equal price, equal quality. I just want to let the vineyards speak for themselves.
Sure. Let the terroir do the work, right?
That's right.
I mean, huge nose, dark raspberry, lots of cherry, a little bit of strawberry even mixed in on this.
A much softer mouthfeel though, whereas the Three Creek is more tannin and a little tighter. This wine's much more softer. Or much more soft. My wife heard me say that. She'd be really pissed.
That's right. My grammar has been critiqued on this show a lot. Massive amounts of fruit, almost like Twizzlers, like the cherry Twizzlers. Lots of jam, crazy amounts of plum as well. Again, it is so rounded. It really is. I mean, you're almost getting. There is definitely that New World fruit bomb sugar-fied aspect to it, but that's like a fun ride. I mean, obviously, this is a more calmer, complete version of the Garrettson that we had the other day, which was like insanity, like port. I'm sure you know Matt.
Yeah, they're also carried by T. Edward.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Huge mouthfeel, wild roller coaster ride, New World at its finest. Let's go 94 points on this. Again, you have to know what this is, though. Old World fans, press pause, because this is not really going to be your style all the way. It is definitely leaning more towards that new fruit bomb, whereas the first one, Three Creeks, I think is much more up your style. That's pretty cool that you get to kind of play with the different styles. Is that kind of your own personal, you want to do different
Oh, yeah.
styles?
We're actually bottling 7 different Syrahs in 2005.
Wow.
A couple of them we made just, 1 barrel, 2 barrels of things like that.
Can we get those for Wine Library TV exclusive? Camera's rolling.
I don't know about that. We'll have to talk about that off.
After the air, cut. But
we make a really cold climate one now called Turner Vineyard, which is out near Lompoc, right in the Melville, Babcock area, literally right behind those ranches, and it leans more towards the Saint Joseph. You're talking Northern Rhone, like it's
getting bell
more
peppers,
peppery and things like that. Towards the warmer climates are Coulson Canyon's more of a fruit bomb. What I think is interesting about the Three Creek is it comes from 2 of these new Ontov clones that are really small berries, and they're from Hermitage, supposedly. I don't know exactly, but that's what they say. And this is an Australian clone. The Coulson Canyon is an Australian clone. So if you put in the New World, Old World, the clones are really kind of saying what they are.
It comes down to DNA. It's just like, it's like, they are what they are. Mm-hmm. All right.
So this is a really fun wine for us also. In 2005, there was a...
So is this late harvest Syrah?
Yeah, this was picked on December 27th.
Nice.
I have the holiday spirit. When we're talking about off here, I have the holiday spirit.
2005.
I like to keep my guys working during Christmas and the holidays.
Yeah. And this is really cool because the one thing that caught me right away was asking the suggested retail, because we don't have this in stock. I've never had this. This is only $18 suggested retail, which is very, very well priced for 16.9 alcohol, and
it's got 5% residual sugar.
5% residual sugar. I mean, this is gonna be fun. This is a great way to end it.
It's a funny thing that happened with this is, it's funny for me, not for the grower. The grower actually got stiffed on a 40-ton contract in 2005. So I was going out to look at the ranch. This is from Tierra Alta Vineyard. So
you have to understand, some of the greatest things that ever happened to our customers are because people got stiffed, and then we take advantage and help out our consumers. So maybe it's a similar story.
Exactly. So what happened was I went out to look at some grafts that they were putting in for me as from Grenache Blanc and Roussanne, and it was like December 23rd or 22nd, and the grower had 40 tons still hanging out there on the vines, and he said, "Oh, do you want some grapes?" And I was like, "What do you been smoking, dude? I want some grapes." "No, I don't want any grapes." And he's like, "No, make some stuff out of it for fun." He's like, "Why not?" He's like, I'll make you a deal. You take 2 tons of it. If you like it, pay for it. If you don't pay for it. Just dump it down the drain and see what just play with it. And I was like, oh, that's a
fair
win-win.
offer.
Yeah, it's a fair offer to me. I'm not a brain surgeon, but whatever. It seems good to me. So we made the wine, and this was just natural fermentation, no fortifying or anything like that. So we just let it ferment, just like we do our red wines, and this is what we came up with. But the cool thing about it was they weren't going to pick the grapes. They just went through and cherry-picked the tops of the hills for me, and you couldn't even tell the vines had been picked because they just went through and picked the stuff that didn't have any green mildew. So it's just like quality raisins, basically.
Unbelievable. And what's awesome is you didn't pay for it.
I ended up paying for it, but
I know.
well, I told him I dumped it down the drain.
That's right.
Between you and I,
He's gonna see it.
He doesn't watch this show.
Nice. He doesn't watch this show? How is that humanly possible?
He's busy watching OC or something.
That's fair. I watch OC. Not anymore. All right, let's taste this. Jeez, the nose is insano.
My first thought was this is going to be something you can lubricate your car with. This big, oily, gnarly, over-the-top thing.
It's that purple paint we were talking about the other day.
But it came out really kind of feminine for what it is. I really liked the wine a lot. I was really excited about it when it finished.
It smells like incense, a little bit. It's got like, it's
Our tasting notes in the tasting room say, if you like raisins, this is for you.
Yeah.
Because it's really raisiny also.
If you've been doing something illegal in a college dorm room, you could pour this on, the bottom of your door, and I guarantee you won't get in trouble. I mean, it's got that kind of smell. I mean, this is something that I've always had a problem with all wine critics. Nobody can really taste dessert wines properly. I think they're all overscored. You look at all the dessert wines, they're always getting, the Australian dessert wines that are like $8, 97, 98. And I understand why. I mean, sugar tricks us. I mean, it's so delicious. It's so yummy. You want to eat this wine. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to like bite it. You want to pour it on chocolate. You want to pour it on ice cream. I mean, this is like pretty fun. I'm going to score this 49 points. Let's flip it. Let's go 94. I mean, this is an absolute steal. We're going to definitely... Is this available? All right, sweet. We're going to get this in for me. Yes. This is nice. How much of this did you produce?
3 barrels. So we bottled in splits. We made about 170 cases. And the only place I've sold it to is to T. Edward besides my tasting room. Mm-hmm. And it's a tasting room people go crazy for in the tasting room. We sell it for $20 in tasting room. And people just go, I mean, they just love it. There's a lot of people come in your tasting room, walk-ins, that are just looking for sweet wine, things like that.
Sure.
So they're like, oh, wow.
Where's the sugar?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously...
So we can satisfy that need.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to tell all the viewers at home? You want to tell them to come over and hang out?
Sure. If you guys would like to come out to the wine library here in New Jersey, we're always here. I'm only here until Friday, so you guys better become quick.
No, I mean I want people to come to your house, like ring your doorbell and hang out
I
with
just
you.
recently moved, and my wife's not going to dig it until she finishes the move.
Awesome. Joey, honestly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Guys,
you.
question of the day. Who's your favorite Joey of all time? Answer. We'll see you next time on Wine Library TV. You, with a little bit of me, we're changing the wine world.